Well, good day, church. My name's Harry Davis. I've been with the church for a couple of decades. Let's say several decades. I was very much a part of the team that considered moving the church. You know, we had a church downtown that was landlocked. Our education space was falling apart. We really couldn't come up with any new ministries at that location. If we're going to move, where are we going to move to? Well, as it turns out, New Market Center, this whole area was being developed at that time. Several of us knew the people who owned the property, so we talked to them, and that looked very positive. But even that's not enough. In order to buy that property and build a church, we had to sell the old church. Well, who would buy that church? So we reached out to the only entity that we thought might buy it, and that, of course, would be the university. We had a capital campaign. We went to the members and we raised $1 million. Now, that was over 25 years ago. That was real money back then. And then we took out a loan for $2 million from a bank. So we did all of this by taking chances and by having faith that we would be able to make the payments and we would be able to carry this out. So that's how the whole thing went from there to here. Well, when we got here, we could have been like a dog that was chasing a car, and you catch it, now what do you do? But that's not what happened to this church. Our members couldn't wait to get here. We couldn't wait to come up with new plans, new ministries, all kinds of new programs to reach out to the community. Think of all that went into getting us here, all the people, all the committees. So let me conclude this part by saying this. We've done a great deal, but the best is still out there in the future for this church. Well, the number of decisions was unbelievable. You can imagine how many decisions it takes to build a house. I was in discussions about the organ. What kind of organ? Our organ was built. How big was this organ going to be? How many stops was it going to have? How many pipes? We talked about that. And the one thing we knew, we wanted an organ that was commensurate with the glory of this church and the sanctuary, and one that would actually make the walls vibrate if we really turned the thing up. So we were very careful to make sure we had a great organ, but those were hoops that we had to jump through. I remember discussions about what did we want up at the very top of the church in that stained glass window? Did we want a dove up there or a picture of Jesus? And so we had a discussion about that, and the dove ultimately won out. But all other kinds of decisions involved what kind of kitchen did we want? Did we want an industrial, commercial grade kitchen, and what kind of equipment would we have to put in there? So again, you can imagine all of the decisions that were having to be made. And landscaping. How beautiful did we want the church to look from the outside? And how many people were involved in all of those decisions? And there were a whole group that was involved in coming up with shrubbery and the types of grass we would have, and landscaping, mulch, and all of those issues had to be decided. So it was a Herculean task. People put their shoulder to the grind, and we did it loving each other, caring for each other, and always trusting in God that we were doing the right thing. Well, this church will continue to be innovative and take chances and move forward. If you look at the youth of our church, if you looked at any of the services where the children have done musicals for our church, that's the future of our church. And we've got at least 60, maybe 85 children involved with the choir and with the musical that was put on the other week in our sanctuary. That's the future of the church. So I feel great about the future of our church. Not only those kids, but the teachers that work with them, the talent that this church has, both in terms of the children singing, the speaking parts that they have in plays where they memorize parts. It's truly amazing. Anybody who's watched them believes in this church and believes in where we're headed. So I pray every day that we continue to attract and keep the interest of those children as we have been doing and been doing so well. But when I became a member here, of course, I was a young man at that time, and I remember some of the leaders, and they were much older than me, the people that really were the leaders of the church, and they had had plenty of years of experience. And I remember them bringing people along like me, and there were a whole group of people in my age group, and those older people did mentor us. They did help bring us along. And of course, God's hand was there the whole time, and we were all praying, and we knew that we had to grow leaders internally. We didn't have to go outside. We had a large number of people in the church that could grow into leadership positions. So I think that's the way this church has done it, and it's done an incredibly good job of doing that. And I have faith that this church will continue to do that. We have young people running all over this church. You see them every Sunday. You see them at Crossroads. You see them in both of our services, both the 8:30 and the 11 o'clock service. And you see them down the hall in the Sunday school classes. We've got plenty of young people here, and I don't think we'll have any issues or any problems coming up with the next generation of leaders. I'm very confident